success in your specific role, that you can articulate how your measures of success affect our ultimate aim of student achievement, that you can define our cultural measures, which I'll tell you what those are, and that you can articulate what factors affect our ability to meet our cultural measures. So basically, it's really, what are your measures of success? What are your goals in your role? And what typically gets people to meet those goals? And what typically prevents them from meeting those goals? Okay? And this, to me, I mean, so we just talked about sort of big picture what institute is. Like, that's basically like there's institute. But within that, obviously, is staff performance, your performance, as well as culture in the bottom, sort of lifting everything up. And that's where we're going to get a little bit more specific. So it's like, all right, literally, like, what are we talking about here? Okay? So, what is the purpose of a goal? And you have it on your slide, which I realize, what are you going to do? So don't look. But just what you know about goals, and I find this stuff fascinating. Goal theory, adult motivational theory. This to me is, and I think a lot of you too, this is what you're looking to get out of this role, is professional development and how you motivate adults. Part of how you motivate adults is through goals. What is the purpose of a goal? Yeah.
Goals drive you to persevere through challenges because you know what you're working for.
Okay.
So,
So she said you're not going to give up. It's going to drive, you're going to have to drive towards what you're working for. But I can say, but even if you have a goal, you could give up on it, which is true. But let's assume for a second that we're pretty goal-oriented. And let's assume for a second when then, honestly, success and failure is clearly defined. Who in this room is like, I'm okay with failure? I'm okay with failure. Absolutely not. Like, it holds you accountable if you're the kind of person that's goal-oriented. I think that's a part of it, and you can selection with that. If you didn't care about goals and you were like, failure's fine with me, then maybe it wouldn't be that motivating. But you're right. In that, do I just click this? Okay, great. Tells you what to focus on, and actually I feel like you kind of hit the third one too. Acts as a motivator. What else does a goal do? Yeah?
It unifies all of us and we're from different places and helps us to work together.
Okay. So, not that bullet, but great. Yes. It is clearly defined for all of us, and I think almost like a contract. Like, this is what we're working for. We all know. We all know what's at stake. We also all know what's at play and can support each other in meeting our respective goals. For the sake of time, we're going to go ahead and expand on the third bullet since it's been revealed. It also tells you how much effort is put into it. We spend time. We're going to show you. We're having quantifiable goals here. We spend time setting those targets. Arguably, if I set a target at 70%, let's just 70% of what I want to tell you what, which is 70%, and I set a target at 90%. That should indicate to you that the 90 is really important, whatever it is that we're measuring, and that you should spend more time there. Could also mean that maybe it's a little easier to reach. So it's like we expect you to get there. If you get below 90, there's something wrong here. But basically, in and of itself, whatever we've set goals around should be ding, ding, ding. This must be important, right? We only set goals around things that are hard. If something is easy, I don't need a goal. I don't need a goal for how much TV I watch in a week. That's not something that I need to set a goal around, right? It's not. We set goals around things that are going to be hard to reach, that without that motivator, without honestly the threat of success or failure potentially, we might not work that hard to do. Okay, what has to be true in order for goals to actually truly drive your work? So we just said it motivates your works, but like what has to be true about them? Thank you.
Accountability.
Okay, that's actually good. And actually it's not something I put up here, but you're absolutely right. Good. No, just yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
it has to be measurable.
Yeah.
That should be able to tell us to do that.
Yeah. It's really hard to do anything with a goal if you're always fuzzy about whether or not you're meeting it. Like, it's just really hard for it to drive your action. What else?
It has to be feasible. It has to be things you know in your gut you can accomplish and do everything.
Yes, as well as ambitious, correct? We know this in our teaching. Like, the goal, like the section on goals in our teaching of leadership framework is not something we invented. Okay? This is goal theory from the ages. We know this. What else would you say? These reveal bullets are a whole new world to me. I can't even figure it out.
I would also say specific, like a general goal that is going to work for me because
Right.
So that's the opinion of
Yeah.
I agree.
Kids will love learning, right? That's the thing. So actually, in sort of back in the day, we actually said those were kind of acceptable big goals for teachers. And what we have, it's not that there's anything wrong with that sentiment. It just wasn't useful in driving the work of the teacher because you can't figure out what that means, what it would look like, and how you would measure it. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could. You'd have to do some hard work. Maybe you could say, I would see 90% of students smiling. I mean, you have, but really, like, when you have these very general goals, it actually becomes meaningless, which sort of brings us to bullet 4. But they have to mean something to you, and I think that means 2 things. One, like, you literally have to understand what that is, and it also has to be compelling to you. So if someone assigned me a goal that I just didn't feel passionate about, then it might not drive my goal. Again, assuming, though, that the goals inherent in teaching and inherent here at Institute are things that you're passionate about. And then bullet 3 is sort of straightforward, but it's that you have to know what to be able to do about it. So even if you were able to measure it, and you were able to say, gosh, I am 20 points from my goal, talking in quantifiable terms, if you don't know how to get from 20 to wherever you're supposed to get, it doesn't drive your work either. We have to be clear about what are typically the actions that one would take to see incremental progress. The other thing I want to touch on here is a way of measuring in the interim. And I will say that I actually don't feel like I fully understood how important this was until I actually had this job. Because the goals are so long-term and through so many layers, so I don't work with core members, right? There are several layers that have to, and work and information that has to be transferred down to core members and students. I really had to wrap my head around, how will my team and I measure the progress that we're making on these things? Because if the goal isn't realized until July 10th, which in my team and I's case it isn't, and we set these goals August 1st, literally have 11 months, with no way in between of gauging how we're doing, how would it change my actions? I'll just plug along, assuming I'm going to get there, and I may or may not. I have to know somehow in the interim, in the same way that we ask our teachers to constantly assess, it's so that they're adjusting course. So without interim measures, it's actually impossible. Goals won't drive work. It's wrong. Okay. So let's get real specific. School directors, there's a green piece of paper in the accordion file. If you can pass that out. So, to be super specific, as we said before, you literally are being presented right now with a page of numbers. And I want to explain what you're even looking at, because actually it's not totally obvious. So, you have it on the slide and you have it in front of you. And it's on green because when I was a teacher, anything important was photocopied on colored paper. I was like, this is important. And it is. This is really, I want you to be very clear on what you're being held accountable for, and also so that you know how to use your time. I don't think it would be fair to you if it was sort of ambiguous to you what your goals are. And most of you are very used to working with goals, so I really just want to make sure that this is very clear. So let me explain what we're looking at. The first row, the student achievement, that's our student achievement goal. Literally, 100% of students will meet their growth goals. The goal is obviously 100. And what I've included here for some context for you is how we did last year against this goal and what the national average of all institutes was. So that's what you're seeing. The second goal is around TAL targets. Core members will just demonstrate proficiency on 80% of TAL actions. That's obviously the goal too, is 80%. And there was our result from last year, and there was the national institute average. The rest of these measures of success, except for the last one, are survey questions. They are, in fact, survey questions. And so the numbers, and you might want to note this to yourself because it's, again, not immediately obvious on the sheet. So when you see, for instance, my CS has been helpful in my development as a teacher. Our goal is 85%. That means that 85% of core members will answer agree or strongly agree to that question. So you might want to note that down. Agree or strongly agree to the questions here.